Good morning. Welcome to June 30th and a voting meeting of the House Finance Committee. I'd like to start by having our senior committee legislative assistant call the roll. Lori Smith.
Chairman Samuelson,
Here.
Abney,
Vote by designation.
Sapita Freites,
Here.
Fleming,
Vote by designation.
Gallagher, Gungauer,
Vote by designation.
Harris,
Vote by designation.
Inglis,
Vote by designation.
Krajewski, Rab,
Vote by designation.
Scott,
Vote by designation.
Venkat,
Vote by designation.
Waxman, Webster.
Vote by designation.
Chairman Griner,
Here.
DeVanzo,
Vote by designation.
Fritz, Gatos, Jones, Kephart, Kutz,
Vote by designation.
Mako,
Vote by designation.
Rossi, Rinkavich,
Vote by designation.
Stamba, and Stender.
All members present or accounted for. And we have 4 items listed on the agenda today. The first item is House Bill 1129, sponsored by Representative Friel and Representative Fritz, on a net operating loss exchange program. And I have an amendment listed to that bill. I'm going to go over that bill today. I'm working on the language of my amendment and double checking several things in that amendment. We have a comprehensive amendment that had suggestions from Department of Revenue, Department of DCED, prime sponsor, and myself. So I'm just reviewing that language. So I'll have a call of the chair meeting in the near future to discuss House Bill 1129. The next bill is House Bill 1667, sponsored by Representative Takak. And I call that bill up to make a technical change in the Rural Jobs and Investment Tax Credit. I'd like to have our committee senior executive director Mark Foreman review that bill.
Thank you. There was a technical error in the drafting of the legislation previously, so this is just simply a fix in order to make sure that the funds are authorized and the tax credits can be released.
Thank you. I appreciate the work of Representative Takak. I also appreciate the work of Chair Griner. We had this bill back in 2023, and our committee had the language correct. We understand that at the tax code table last summer, a couple of words were changed, and we need this so that DCED can actually release the money. And appreciate Representative Takak. Would you like to talk about the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, both chairmen, for calling this up, and thank you to staff. Just real quickly, the Rural Jobs Investment Tax Credit is an already successful program. There's already been $50 million that has been invested in small businesses in rural areas of Pennsylvania, all of it to businesses with under 150 people. In return for that investment, the investors are able to take a tax credit for every job created. If the job is not created, they cannot take the credit. This has a huge impact in attracting capital. It has strong bipartisan support. I think it's a really outstanding example of a public-private partnership. It was so successful that last year we reauthorized a round 2, but due to the technical amendment, or technical error, excuse me, it's really held up the disbursement of these critical funds. We have investors and businesses literally standing by to make these investments once we do this. So the bill itself is de minimis in nature, technical, but it will literally free up tens of millions of dollars, and I urge everyone to support the legislation. I want to thank the chairman and staff for prioritizing this. We've been working on it literally for months, so this is a big step forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to note for the record, Representative Fleming and Representative Webster are here. Chair Griner.
Yeah, I just would recommend a yes vote on this as well. We had worked on this, as we just said. We thought we had this done last budget season, and I think you made the point very well that DCED had indicated that there's a there's a significant return, and you don't get the return unless you can prove that it's worth. There's criteria for this program as well. So just with it being, like I said, we passed it last year, technical in nature. Hopefully, everybody can be a yes vote.
Thank you very much. A successful program. We actually voted in committee October 6th of 2023 and got it in the tax code July 11th last summer. So this will make sure the money continues to support this very successful ongoing program. Any discussion from other committee members on House Bill 1667? Could I have a roll call vote on House Bill 1667?
Chairman Samuelson,
Yes.
Rep. Abney,
Yes, designation.
Sapita Freites,
Yes, oh, sorry.
Fleming, Gallagher, Gungauer,
Yes, designation.
Harris,
Yes, designation.
Inglis,
Yes, designation.
Radrewski, Rab,
Yes, designation.
Scott,
Yes, designation.
Vincant,
Yes, designation.
Waxman, Webster,
Yes.
Chairman Greiner,
Yes.
Devanzo,
Yes by designation.
Fritz, Gatos, Jones, Kephart, Kutz,
Yes by designation.
Mako,
Yes by designation.
Rossi, Rinkavich,
Yes by designation.
Stamba, Stender.
House Bill 1667 is reported from the House Finance Committee by a vote of 24-2. Next on the agenda, we have House Bill 16. I'm calling up House Bill 1668, sponsored by Representative Bellman, authorizing a city of the first class to establish a property tax abatement program to incentivize the installation of sprinklers in residential high-rises. So I'd like to have our committee executive director, Mark Foreman, give a description of the bill.
This bill would establish a tax relief program, or authorize the city of the first class to establish a tax relief program for retrofitting fire sprinkler systems in residential high-rise.
Thank you, and we're joined by the prime sponsor of the bill, Representative Bellman, and I'd like to ask Representative Bellman to talk about House Bill 1668.
Thank you, chairs, and thank you, members of the committee. All residential high-rise buildings in Philadelphia built after 1991 must have a fire sprinkler system, and all commercial buildings must be retrofitted for fire sprinkler systems. However, this requirement does not exist for residential high-rise buildings that were built before 1991. As a result, it is estimated that over 26,000 Philadelphians live in a residential building greater than 6 stories high that are not equipped with fire sprinkler systems. This is why I am asking for support for my legislation that would authorize the city of the first class to establish a property tax abatement program for residential high-rise structures that are retrofitted with modern fire sprinkler systems. This would allow the city to establish the timelines and define the residential high-rise structures within the city are eligible for the abatement. Installing fire sprinkler systems is one of the best measures that can take, excuse me, that we can take to prevent devastating outcomes due to fire. This sprinkler systems put out fires quickly while creating less water damage than a fire hose. And according to the United States Fire Administration, fire sprinklers and most smoke alarms can reduce the risk of dying in a fire by 82%. This legislation would help save lives and incentivize investment in retrofitting residential high-rise buildings with automatic fire sprinkler systems and associated monitoring and detecting devices. I would urge my colleagues to vote yes on this legislation.
Thank you, Representative Bellman. I would like to speak on the legislation and then open it up to any questions from the committee members. I the bill before us today is a local option giving the city of the first class, the city of Philadelphia, the option, if they would choose to have an incentive for the installing the sprinkler systems. As Representative Bellman said, commercial buildings are already covered. Post 1991, they have them. Before 1991, the requirement was that they be retrofitted, but that retrofitting requirement was not on the residential buildings. So I believe it's important for public safety, important to give the city this option. I do want to note that the language of the bill is in parallel to another option that we give cities of the first class. We have a long-time owner-occupied housing program where the city of the first class had the option and chose to use it to have a tax incentive for folks who stay in their property a long time. And this committee, we recently just expanded that to City of Pittsburgh, giving them the option. So the language is a local option based similar to that language. I do want to open it up to committee discussion. Representative Gatos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, why just the city of the first class? Why not open up to other people?
Thank you. I'll take that question. The request I'm getting is for the city of the first class from Representative Bellman. I would be open to having other legislation for Allegheny County, Lancaster County, other communities that would like this local option. But the bill before us today is just city of the first class, but I'd be open to other legislation.
I guess my question is it constitutional to allow it just in one?
Yes, I believe it is constitutional. I know it's constitutional because we currently have the long-time owner-occupied program that we had for cities of the first class and counties of the first class. We added Allegheny County, and then recently this committee in the last 2 years added City of Pittsburgh if Allegheny County chose not to do on the long-time owner-occupied housing program, the LOOP program. So giving counties a local option is constitutional.
Next.
Representative Stender, and then Representative Jones and Chair Greiner.
Just a question, Representative Bellman. Has the city of the first class tried other programs for this, and have they been successful in doing that? Have they tried something else to get sprinklers in the pre-1991 houses?
Not that I am. Go for it.
So our understanding is those have an old system where there's pipes and you can either pump from the street or underneath, but many of them don't work anymore.
Yeah.
And so these would retrofit with a monitoring system that would spray on their own. I'm not an expert. That was my understanding.
So have they tried other incentive programs for residential high rises other than property taxes? And I only ask because I know other municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania have been successful in updating older structures, built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, without this piece of legislation.
To answer your question, not that I'm aware of.
I've got Representative Jones, Representative Waxman, and Chair Greiner, and then anybody else who would like to comment on the bill. Representative Jones.
Yeah, just two questions. I probably should know, but I don't see it here when I look in the. What property tax are we talking about? The county tax, or is this school property tax, or both? And if it's school, does the school have to approve the way that they do? And I mean, in York County, we have. I'm not sure about Philly, but we have school tax, obviously, and we have county tax, and the abatement programs the school board has to approve. I'm just curious which tax we're talking about.
Property tax levied by a city of the first class.
So not school property taxes.
The municipal tax levied by a city of the first class.
So it's not school property taxes. I'm not being difficult. I don't like in York. They're levied in. I think there's like a common collection group, but we're not. There's school property tax, right? And there's county property tax. At least in York, that's how it is. I don't know if Philly's school property tax being much the bigger piece. And you can have tax abatement program. Is it called LRTA or similar, where you have the 10% first year, 20, and then to that point does this just say they can offer an abatement program of their choosing, or is it defined what that abatement? Like the abatement program could be no property tax for 30 years, or it could be a 10% break or anything in between at their discretion?
Yeah, we have the bill is worded to allow a property tax abatement program or property tax relief program. City of the First Class does levy a municipal tax and a school tax different times of the year, and also a county tax. As you know, the City of the First Class is coterminous with the County of the First Class.
Yes, sir. Does this include school property tax abatement?
No, it's
No,
the
okay,
city.
that's all I wanted to
It's
get
the
at.
municipal tax levied
Okay.
early in the year by a
Just
city of the
municipal
first
tax.
class,
I just wanted to be, because in
not the school tax, which is levied
everything
in
in
the
front
summer.
of me just says a property tax abatement.
Yeah.
Doesn't say municipal property tax
Gotcha.
abatement. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Waxman.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the maker of the bill for bringing this forward. Really appreciate you. Just to address some of the arguments that have come up earlier or questions, I don't think there is anything inappropriate about Philadelphia, having being targeted for specific types of taxes or policies. The City of the First Class is a little different from other parts of the state. There are also many, tax incentive, tax breaks that apply to other parts of the state that do not apply to Philadelphia because they're for economic activity that doesn't really occur in city limits or many other reasons. I understand that it is, good social media content to rail about how you voted against a special tax break for Philadelphia. But that's not really what's going on here today and isn't the way that it should be characterized. For me personally, I would be absolutely fine. What's up? Excuse me. For me personally, I would have no problem with extending this and expanding it to other parts of the state. And I think that it's something that would be appropriate in other communities, in particular older communities that have these types of buildings. This is something that I care about actually, and not in a theoretical way, because I live in one of these buildings. The building that I live in was built in the early 1900s. And this is actually a pretty big issue for me and for my neighbors, and trying to figure out how to retrograde these buildings so that public safety is protected. And I want to say also, just to the maker of the bill, this is a great compromise in terms of encouraging people to do the retrofitting and to do the kind of, quite frankly, sometimes expensive work to provide an incentive and not a mandate. I think that this would be exactly the kind of thing that people would get behind and support because it really allows people to make a decision and provides an incentive for them to do that. So I want to thank the maker for that. I think this is really, really important, and I'm looking forward to voting yes.
Any other members of the committee? I do want to note for the record that Representative Harris and Representative Venkott are present. Any other members of the committee have discussion on House Bill 1668? I do have comments from Chair Greiner.
So yeah, just getting back to the constitutionality, we did talk to our attorneys here in our caucus. We do firmly believe it's unconstitutional, just as an FYI. And actually, the Loop program was a constitutional amendment. So that actually had to go through the process to be modified. It just wasn't a regular bill. It had to be passed 2 consecutive sessions, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm just letting you know what our legal counsel told us moving forward. I do struggle. I understand the concept, obviously, as a former firefighter myself, volunteer firefighter for a couple decades. I understand the importance. But I also, I struggle. I would have thought maybe a representative from York County might have said this too. When you're doing property tax abatement, somebody's ox is getting gored. Somebody is going to be making up for that lost tax too along the way, and I'm not quite sure where that is along the way. And and we are carving out a city of the first class. It is interesting how we ended up in the Loop bill adding Pittsburgh and Allegheny County at the time, and so I have for those reasons. I'm going to ask for a no vote on this legislation. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, Chair Greiner. I do want to speak on the bill that we have our committee, our attorney for the Finance Committee has told us that this is constitutional. So I do want to note that we do have programs that benefit different areas of the state. Just 10 minutes ago, we voted on the Rural Jobs and Investment Tax Credit, which is obviously going to focus on manufacturing in rural parts of the state. I do want to commend Representative Bellman for identifying a need in his community to retrofit the residential high-rises and being proactive in coming up with a solution that would be not a mandate, but a local option, giving the city of the first class, the city of Philadelphia, the option to address this issue through a property tax abatement if they would choose to do so. If there's no other comments from members of the committee, I do want to call for a vote on House Bill 1668.
Chairman Samuelson,
Yes?
Abney,
Yes by designation?
Sapita Freites, Fleming, Gallagher, Gungauer,
Yes by designation?
Harris, Inglis,
Yes by designation?
Krajewski, Rab,
Yes by designation?
Scott,
Yes by designation?
Venkat,
Yes.
Waxman, Webster.
Yes.
Chairman Griner,
No.
DeVanzo,
No by designation.
Fritz, Gatos, Jones, Kephart, Kutz,
No by designation.
Mako,
No by designation.
Rossi, Rinkavich,
No by designation.
Stamba, and Stender.
House Bill 1668 is reported from the Finance Committee by a vote of 15 to 11. The last item on the agenda is a request for re-referral. We have a bill sponsored by Representative Cerisi that is in our committee, and we've had a request to re-refer it to the Judiciary Committee. So I'd like to call up House Bill 1176, printers number 1313, and I do want to ask my staff to read a summary of the bill.
The bill would increase thresholds for unclaimed property.
The question is, will the Finance Committee report Bill 1176 with a recommendation to re-refer it to the Judiciary Committee? Is there any debate on that question? Chair Griner.
Why? Why, Mr. Chairman?
The prime sponsor has been working with the Judiciary Chair on a number of issues in this same area regarding the decedents, and this was a package they negotiated and accidentally got sent to us, so they asked that they be able to refer it over to them.
Okay. I still think it's a Finance Committee issue, but okay.
And the bill is worded as a Title 20 bill instead of the Tax Reform Code. Any other members of the committee want to discuss the question of whether to re-refer to the Judiciary? Are there any negative votes on the question of re-referring to the Judiciary Committee? The motion to re-refer passes the committee unanimously. This bill is re-referred to Judiciary. With no other business before the committee today, I do want to adjourn this meeting of the Finance Committee.